Greetings everyone, welcome to this new video. Today we're going to take a look at different league mechanics and how to spend those league mechanics specific currency on crafting, for example, or something else. Because each league in previous leagues had different mechanics with them, and people came up with really insane ways of farming that specific currency. And then into using that currency at the maximum amount of profit. So I want to pair up each one with a way of farming it, or multiple ways of farming it, and with multiple ways of using that currency, or a single way, depending on which one is most profitable. So that means Abyss League, that means Bestiary, that means Delve, and those and so on, for example. I want to go through the ones that are going to be present in the new Synthesis League, basically. So this is going to be probably a 3-part series. We'll see how much we come up to. And without further ado, let's start this. Mention that if someone is buying your stuff, your specific currency that you laid out or that you have farmed, that means that there's probably a way, well, there is a way of making more currency out of that. So if you're buying Stygian Vices or something, someone is buying Stygian Vices, that means that there's a way of probably making 10 times as just much currency from using it yourself. So everything that is expensive to buy, or to if you're selling, that means you can probably make 10 times as much profit yourself if you are using it and learning how to use it. So that is my goal right here. So let's go to the first step. It's going to be a general step, because without this step we are not going to be able to proceed in this guide, basically, because we're going to need some base currency. Base currency is everything that is on this right here in our currency tab. And we're gonna need it, because otherwise we're not gonna be able to do the basic kind of crafting. And I want to lay it up in different layers of how, depending on how much currency you have, you might want to do different steps of crafting in the end. So first of all, how do we get this currency? I talked to you all with in my previous video about this, but I want to mention it again a little bit more clearly. So I would normally just have a loot filter in, and I would run through the acts and until I get to Act 9, where I stop at Blood Aqueduct. Here I would start running this zone back and forth until level 70, because it is 61 zone, and at level 70 you're gonna start hitting diminishing returns of this. What I mean by this is that you're gonna get less loot, you're gonna get less XP, so you might want to just stop it there. So why are people doing the Blood Aqueducts? Well, it's one simple reason. It's the divination card Humility that drops there. It has a fairly high drop chance, so what you want to do is just farm that, and when you have, I think it's 8 of them, then you can turn it in and get a Tabula Rasa. Tabula Rasa is a 6-link, white 6-link, so it's only these sockets. It doesn't have any other stats, and it's golden because you can basically run through the whole end game with this specific piece. And a 6-link is super expensive in the beginning of the league, so why just not farm it yourself? So you can also do the chaos recipe in this zone. That's why many do it also. What I mean by the chaos recipe is that you just pick up a full set of gear, a rare gear that is. That means 2 rings, 1 amulet, and boots, gloves, belt, head, and so on. If it's unidentified, you get 2 chaos if you sell it to the vendor. If some piece is identified, then it's 1 chaos. So that might be a good second income also while you're doing this. And of course, there's going to drop currency on the ground. Make sure you are efficient with this, because you don't want to waste time picking up shit items and stuff like that. I would also recommend here for the first time to use the trade function in the game to search for specific item that can help you farm faster here. So I would stop here and start buying items from people. What I would look for is kind of for my glass cannon, what I'm calling it, or what other people are calling it, is that I would go for maximum damage and movement speed. Movement speed on boots is very important, and a quicksilver flask, or maybe a phase run or something like that, because you want to run as fast as possible. You want to also kill as good as possible, so 1 or 2 hits per mob maximum, which means that you need a good weapon, you need some damage mods on your rings and stuff like that. And obviously a Tabarasa would also help in this manner. I would definitely tell you that you need to start trading here. Then we want to go on to after this, when you have gotten all of this, you gotten your level 70. If you don't have the cards you need, then you might want to buy them, so you get the full set and get your Tabarasa. After this, you're gonna get up to maps. This is the next step you want to go to, and you want to start alking tier 3 and everything above, especially early in the league, because every time you do this, you have a high chance of getting return. People have made videos on this, made statistics on this. It makes sense to alk everything above tier 2. Even they say you might want to even alk below that. But tier 3 and everything here is definitely worth it. I would also start chiseling maps that are red. The red maps I would chisel, and maybe even val. Well, obviously you're gonna val them the first time, but valing all of them for the future. But you want to make sure you can run them. So if you have a build that can run all mods, that would be splendid here. You want to do each map that has, you can get the completion bonus, because the more completion bonus you have, the less trading you're gonna need to do for getting through your atlas, because that's basically how probability works, because this is going to help with your map drops, or higher map drops, that is. The reason why we do this, we want to get higher on the atlas. We want to get to these end game maps. So why are we in the end games maps? Well, basically we want high eye level bases. Different eye levels is going to drop or with different kind of mods. So let's see here at my gloves, for example, which is eye level 85, and it can roll tier 1 lightning res. If you take a look at the lightning res there, if I do not have eye level 85 on these, then that mod cannot roll. It can roll the lower one, tier 2, which is below 46. So this might not be so much of a difference, but people are highly sought after the maximum rolls in this game. So they will look and buy these bases for a lot of money if you put them up. Put up, for example, Hubris Circlet, which is the ES helm. That one goes for a lot in the beginning, for example. Also, for our next kind of farming tips, we're gonna need high eye level specific league mechanics, because we're gonna get higher eye level of these kind of gear, which is gonna be highly sought after. And we're also gonna get more sulfate for our delving, and so on and so forth. And all the maps you drop can be used for selling or even progressing more in the atlas. So without further ado, you should be able to have enough currency now to actually start. You can start probably around a little bit lower than we are now. So the first league mechanic that I want to talk to you about is Abyss League. It was like 4 leagues ago or something like that, and this is probably my most profitable league so far, by using the materials myself. You can encounter abysses, which is basically a kind of rift in the ground. If you step on it, it's gonna spread away. It's gonna pulsate out the monsters out of these cracks in the ground, and then it's gonna start building a hole where it pops out really big enemies, and it's gonna be rare enemies and stuff like that. If you kill them fast enough, it's gonna spread even more, and at some point it's gonna stop completely, and it's gonna do one or two things. It's gonna pop up a chest underground which has a guaranteed abyssal in it, one of these or any of the other kinds. You can look up which kinds they are on the PoE affixes and check out which kind of mods there are specific for that one. Or it can create an abyssal depth where you can run through that. You can click on the portal, go down, and then run in this underground chamber. And in the end there, you can go into a room where there's two possibilities. There's one of these totem-looking boss kind of thing, which shoots out a lot of enemies. If you kill it, you're gonna have a guaranteed Stygian Wise belt like this one. Or even better, if there's a boss there, the Abyssal Depth boss, that means you have a guaranteed drop of an Abyssal Abyssal Unique, which can be highly profitable, exceptionally profitable in this league, because in the new league, Synthesis League, we are not gonna have a map mod, which they mean that it's not gonna be as many of these items rolling around. So this is gonna be extremely profitable in this league. So how do we make these encounters work in our favor? Well, first of all, if you're running normal maps, you're gonna encounter them randomly. You're gonna have these on your maps anyway, but it might be 1 out of 10 maps or something like that, so it's not very consistent. So the way people are gonna do it in this league is by sextant mods. So if you take a look at this one, you're gonna have a sextant mods that can roll this. I highly recommend that you use your Elder Orb on something low, but still good, of course. I'm gonna give tips to you all about this in a later video. What I mean by this is because red sextant is gonna be very expensive. Yellow sextant a little bit cheaper, and white sextants dirt cheap. So if you can use all these 5 sextants on cheap areas and still supercharge your T16 Elder map with abysses, for example, which is gonna be one of the most sought after mods, I believe, in this new league, then you have 3 maps in a row where there's gonna be abysses there. That means a lot of high eye level gear. So the reason why we want to do high eye level is because, or high tier level over here. So if we do take a look at this map, for example, it says Pit of Chimera map, and it's a T16 and 84. So you might be wondering to yourself, well, if I want for example, this one, where is it? So if I want these gloves were 85. So how am I getting 85? Eye level 85. Well, it's because if I'm running this one 84, that means the normal mobs drop eye level 84. Magic 85, rare eye level 86. There we go. So there's obviously the higher the difficulty of a certain enemy, they're gonna drop more loot for you also. So you want to do sextants, you want to do all the random encounters, you want to utilize the Elder map or shaping maps in your favor, so you can use the sextants for cheaper. And if you do this, you're gonna make massive kind of profits. So how are we gonna use this newfound currency or this newfound bases into our favor? Because there's no real currency in this, it's the bases. Well, I'm gonna show you 2 examples here. Early in the league, I would use the Abyssal Jewels because they're very cheap to craft. What I would do is, let's just do it from the beginning. I would only use eye level 80 and above. A few days into the league, I would suggest that you do eye level 80 and above. Because you don't want to spend currency on a low level because it can't roll all the good mods. So you want to check that out again on the PoE Affix site. I might link it in the description here if I remember. I have linked it in basically every guide I had. So here, for example, here we have a really good mod. It's a tier 1 cold to spells, but it has a fire damage there. So that doesn't synergize well. What you're looking for is something like this, where there is 2 of the same element. And the reason why these are so highly sought after is that because you can get super high life, 50 maximum life is insanely much, and then you can get flat damage. Flat damage scales so much better than percentage cold damage, for example, or elemental damage in general. I cannot tell you how much better this is. People look at it and it's like, oh, it's really a low number, but you have to remember every elemental damage has diminishing return, percental elemental damage. But if you combine it with flat damage, it scales a lot. That is why Magic Find people use tons of these to scale their damage, because that's not going to interfere with their Magic Find gear. And I'm using, I don't know, probably 10 of these Yules that cost 10 EX each. So what you want to do is that you just alt spam it, because alterations is very cheap, until you hit something good. Like I said, it's life, ES is good, crit multi is super good. What else? It's flat damage, and so on. Basically use your common sense. If it looks good, some resistance maybe also. And as soon as you hit 2 good mods or 1 good mods, if you have 1 good mod, sadly I'm out of these, you want to use the orb augmentation here to get the second mod. If you have already 2 mods, then you're gonna hit it with a regal orb and you're gonna get your 3rd mod. If you have more currency in the end, you want to use an exalted orb to get the 4th affix, so they look like this in the end when there's 4 affixes. So if you have 3 really good ones, then you want to slam it with 1 more. So this is how I made my currency. In the beginning, I have always had 20 of these rolling in my inventory or in my sell tabs, and they sold like hotcakes. They are selling like water in the Sahara Desert. You can also just chaos spam. I did not do that because it's much cheaper to do this version of it. Then when I've done all of these, then I would go always to Stygian Vices, which is a little bit more expensive. The reason why we're doing this one is, one, because of the implicits. It has an abyssal socket. That means we can put in the newly found gears, synergize very well. And the abyssal sockets are so powerful because no implicit right now is as good as that mod right there. It might be a difference in the new Synthesis League, we'll see, but I highly doubt you can beat a jewel like this one in that spot. I don't think so. And what we want to do is, we want to, in the beginning, I would just scour it and then alchemy orbit until I'm hitting something good. I'm looking for life, res, maybe some weapon elemental damage, or some of, and I'm gonna give you a peek at my belt here, what I'm looking at. Then otherwise you can chaos spam it, and you can do a bunch of other different things. The reason why we're using a belt here also is because there's so few mods to be had on the belt, and it's so easy to make it good. People are really sought after this one. This is probably the most used belt in the game. by far. So again, you want to have eye level 80 and above when you're doing this, especially because you're using high level currency on this. So you want to already be sure that you get good rolls on all of these. So I want just for you to take a sneak peek here at my belt, for example. So what I have here is all the leagues basically slapped into one. So I have Abyssal League, which is the belt itself. Then I have Aspect of the Spider, which is a bestiary craft. So I crafted that on top of this one, which means that I can still craft my own craft from the bench, which means that I have two crafts basically for the price of one. And I have the increased elemental damage, which you can see almost at the bottom, which is a delve mod, which comes from fossils. So I fossil craft this, then I had two affixes open, and I bestiary crafted it in my menagerie, and then put on a craft myself. So I have 3 different ways of putting this. I sold these kind of items exactly looking like this with coal, lightning, and fire. I sold these for about over 100 exalted in profit for no effort at all from my side. So I highly recommend this for making currency. And if I made 100 this league from that, you can make sure that be sure that we are gonna make even more out of it this league, because these items are gonna be more harder to get right now. But if you're doing this anyway, because of the mod not being available in this league. So if you're doing this anyway, just accumulate these kind of pieces and then do a crafting session for an hour and then just put them in. And then while you're mapping, you can still be selling these. These are, by the way, the Bananic Trail, and these are Light Poacher, comes from the Abyssal Death boss, by the way. If you get things with 2 sockets in them, you're into big bucks. So that's basically all I have for you for this specific video. We're gonna go on, and I think we're gonna go to Synthesis and Syndicate and Delve in the next video. How to farm currency, because there's specific ways of maximizing specifically for these kind of leagues. So hopefully you learned something. If you have something to tell me about something I missed or something good that you are doing, please leave that in the comment. My goal right now is to increase my subscription on this channel so I can earn some money from these videos. That is my goal here. So please subscribe to my channel, and thank you all for watching and have a good day.